Well, that sucked. Welcome back to 4th and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. I'm Noah Selby.
I'm Wes Selby.
And that shit was ass, dude. That was the worst football game of the season, maybe, that I have ever watched. I've never been more let down by a game. I don't know what to say, dude.
I can't imagine a worse fantasy football game than this. I can't think of
start the fantasy playoffs.
What an absolute
what a garbage fest.
I have Puka Nakua in one league and that worked out, but I also had first round bye, so like I didn't pay much attention to that.
That's my exact situation. I was like, oh,
holy
cool.
shit. That was awful. That was like one of the worst games I've ever seen.
That
was
even
bad good.
That shit was ass. That was so much. How much ass, you may ask? So much ass. You ever seen Kyle Lowry? You ever seen the ass on that dude? That plus more. God, dude, to start the fantasy playoffs. Are you kidding me?
I texted a group chat, one of the many leagues that didn't make playoffs, and I texted and I was like, I'm so glad I'm not in playoffs. Did not have to depend on that garbage fest, suckers. Yeah. That was the worst. Period. Full stop.
That was terrible.
Wow.
Anyway, welcome back in. We got a good show for you, I think. Better than that game. Who knows?
This is already better than that game.
This is already better than that game. This is already less ass than how ass that was. Gonna have to make sure I review the monetization settings on this episode because we're just rolling it out the gate.
Inappropriate language, but
just out the gate. But
wow.
Listen, we got a good one for you. We're gonna recap Thursday Night Football, sorta. I don't know, or maybe just complain about it. We'll see what happens.
There's nothing.
I don't know what more there is to take away, but we're just gonna we're gonna talk about it, and then we're going to give you some studs and duds for week 1 of the playoffs, which, judging by the week already, are probably all going to be wrong. But hey, humor us and stick around because let's have a good time.
Yes.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell. If you want a chance to win a signed James Cook jersey, we only have a couple weeks left of that. You can do that through our Discord. That's linked down below. It's also through our Patreon, patreon.com/4thandtrollfantasy. We are giving that away to a random patron. Any patron, we're raffling off a signed James Cook jersey this season. So it's going to be a good time. What's that? Did more ass happen?
Yeah. 49ers linebacker Devondre Campbell said he didn't want to play anymore and left the game in the third quarter.
Yeah, that adds up.
My God.
That's about how that goes. Yeah.
It's like, Coach, this game sucks. Can I just wait till next week?
Dip?
Wow.
Are we good?
Per Shanahan as well. That's hilarious.
Oh. Well,
where are we at?
Subscribe, ring the bell. I don't know.
Merch?
We got some news, Wes. We have merch. ForTheTrollStore.com. Pretty soon, Deebo Samuel will be working at our first brick and mortar For the Troll merchandise.
We'll be working on social media
store. Yeah, we have some news. Let's talk about it, and then let's jump right back into this fun convo.
Let's keep this train rolling here, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, Drew Lock, he's hurt. He's not going to play. So Tommy DeVito will start against the Ravens. Drew Lock has a heel injury, and I think something else as well. So this might be a multi-week absence for him. Super fun time there for the Giants. Jake Haener is the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. That's right, not Spencer Rattler. It's Jake Haener. He's the guy. They're going to go marching in and lose with, just going to call that right now. They're going to lose. David Njoku, doubtful with a hamstring injury. Why not? Did you have a good time Thursday night? Of course not. Here's more bad news. Kenneth Walker hasn't practiced all week. Breece Hall hasn't practiced all week. Bucky Irving hasn't practiced all week. That's it. Leave your smiles at the door and just come on in for some more sadness here on Fourth and Troll, because now let's just keep talking about this game that we endured. This is like Amazon Prime Thursday night at its finest.
Yeah, this is
Jeff
like
Bezos
a throwback.
It.
Yeah, it was having a good run this season. Bezos was, and this was terrible. He was having a fine run. We were getting some great games. I had just seen a social media account being like, "Is Thursday Night Football new king?" Way to go!
Wow, who
Way
did
to go,
that?
Idiots!
Let's find them.
It was other. Let's. Anyway, that was terrible. That was terrible. Anyway, here's the okay. So here's where I'm at: is that we're not even going over the guys that we said were must starts, or C starts and don't starts. It's not even worth it. It was all wrong, and I am a Cooper Kupp manager in many leagues. Was in playoffs with Cooper Kupp in my lineup in many leagues. First goose of his career. Started out fantasy playoffs in 2024. Yep, I went and looked at it. Yep. I'm not even like, here's the thing, right? I'm not even like, yeah, that sucks. I'm more mad that I wasted my Thursday night watching that game than I am that Cooper Kupp gave me 0 fantasy points. Like, that was just that. Dude, there were like 8 punts in the first quarter.
It was embarrassing. It
was terrible. Around. It was terrible. It was so. I understand rain affects the game. I get it. But when you've watched on Thursday night, just a mere few weeks ago, an all-out blizzard in Cleveland, and all of us being like, that might have been the game of the year. And then you get this in sunny California. Really, it's California's fault. Okay, this is screw you, big California. Freaking Newsom, dude. Is
also the Niners played a blizzard game already against the Bills, right?
Yeah,
and that was fine enough. Oh my gosh.
I don't know what to even like. I don't know how much of a takeaway there is. I don't even like.
Just sucks.
I don't know.
Sorry.
Like I think the only thing to talk about here might be just the target count for Cooper Kupp, but I don't even know what you can take away from this.
There's nothing to take away.
It was just,
it's nothing new.
The first half was terrible, and I've watched Cooper Kupp get. I don't know. I don't even know if he was targeted in the second half. That was just bad. Like, all around, that was terrible. Like, it was Puka Nacua was Puka was good. Puka was good. You're happy that you played Puka. You're fine that you played Kyron. You're fine that you played Garendo. You're fine if you played Kittle. And that's it. Like, it's like and what we projected to be like a great game. Everyone is going to eat. This is going to be awesome. Great divisional matchup. We just got some Bezos-filled divisional bullshit in this game to start out the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, that was one of the worst. I don't know what more there is to it. Ever.
That was horrible. I don't know what more you can say. Like it.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's more anything for the division. It's more anything for the division than anything else. Like, it's good for the Rams. They won. I think on the broadcast they said they won 7 of their last 9. Oh,
jeez.
So maybe they're trying to make a little run here. But I mean, if I know, here's what we'll take away. Ready?
Okay.
If you're a Cooper Kupp manager and you make it to round 2 of the playoffs, congratulations on winning round 2 of the playoffs, because Cooper Kupp is going to go nuclear next week, and I know it for a fact. Like, Stafford's going to be like, all right, that was terrible. Even McVay is going to be like, okay, that was not the showing that we needed here. He was being used more as a decoy than anything. Like, literally on their last drive, that third down they converted to Colby Parkinson was Kupp played the full decoy, brought the man over from motion. Like, it was just, I just don't even know, dude.
29
that
carries from
was
Kyron
terrible.
Williams is
Yeah.
partly why you have such a bad receiving stat line, but that's
Yeah,
it. There's nothing else to dissect from this. This was just garbage all around, and it happened to be in the playoffs. What an L.
Yeah, that was terrible. Last thing I'll take here. Well, actually, two things. One, Deebo Samuel, you suck ass, dude. Dude, completely washed. The pure, like, the bliss and also agony and secondhand embarrassment and honestly secondhand pain, because I like Deebo, but like from him catching like on that slant route that was, if he catches it, he pretty much walks in for a touchdown. He's right at like the 20, and it's wide open. Boom. And he turns forward before he secures the catch and drops it. And like without breaking stride, just like sprints off the field to the sideline, and just Levi Stadium starts booing. It was just like, dude, there's now no way that Deebo is back next year on the Niners. There's no way that happens.
If he remains, he's gonna start demanding a trade by like week 5.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And then the last thing I'll say is it wasn't great, but Garendo getting 11.5 points on a week where we were kind of uncertain. He didn't practice, so wasn't sure, and now he'll have a long week to prepare. I'm happy firing him up in the second round of the playoffs. Like, I'm not bothered by the 11.5, even though it was a drop, a dip in his fantasy production from last week. So that's really it. But that game was ass. That was terrible.
It was ass. Swass. It was swass.
That shit was ass. Anyway, let's jump into some studs and duds, Wes.
Yeah.
It's week one of the fantasy playoffs, and we've got some studs for you and some duds for you. It's gonna be a blast. These are guys that we believe should either be in your lineup. These are guys that should be in your lineup. We believe they can help you win your week and move on to round 2 of the playoffs. Or these are guys that should not be in your lineup. These are guys that you should not be considering putting in your lineup. Maybe you have thought about it and you're looking at it, and we're here to tell you now, get them out. It's not going to be good for you, and they will tank your week. Just like Cooper Kupp, just because like we all predicted that,
just
right?
Like Cooper Kupp.
So anyway, you've got quarterbacks and wide receivers, Wes. I've got running backs and tight ends. You start us out here with your week 1 of the playoffs quarterback stud.
All right. Well, we have a lot of quarterbacks that have led us to the playoffs, and there are still some teams that have made playoffs, and maybe you're one of them, who have been streaming quarterbacks in order to make it to the playoffs. You needed to secure a victory last week. You got it. Now you need to find out which quarterback it is. If you have Bo Nix, or for whatever reason, if he's available, you got to start him. Bo Nix is my first round of playoffs stud quarterback for the week. He's been great. We know this, but just to emphasize how great he's been, over 270 passing yards in the last 3 games, 7 touchdowns in that span. That's an average of 25 points a game in those last 3 games. We've seen him put up over 30 points. That's when he's been rushing the football. He hasn't done a lot of rushing right now because the Broncos are really thick in this AFC playoff picture. So they're going to try to preserve this guy, which means they're going to be throwing a lot more. I'm really excited to see how he does against the Colts this week. Bo Nix is my stud. My dud pains me because I really like the players on this team, but I don't think you should start Geno Smith. I think he's a dud in playoffs this week. First of all, this Green Bay defense has been really solid. We've seen a couple of good games from quarterbacks here and there, but overall, they do not let quarterbacks throw all over them. Geno has not done well for a while. Since week 9, that big Jackson Smith and Jigba game, week 9, he hasn't scored 16 points in 6-point passing touchdown. Can you fathom that? With all JSN has done, not even 16 points. The running game is also very strong. We saw what Zach Charbonnet did, dominating, scoring nearly 40 points with a sudden game time decision. Oh, here he is, Charbonnet starting. If Charbonnet plays again, he's going to be great. If Kenneth Walker comes back, he's also going to be great, and they're going to probably use both the running backs because DK Metcalf also hasn't been doing all that great. Now, said Cardinals defense has DK's number, but I really don't think that DK Metcalf is going to be that important to this passing offense, and I don't think you should start Geno Smith, so he is my dud for the first round of playoffs.
Dang, dude, I didn't even realize Geno was doing that bad. I felt like because JSN had been really taking off over the last few weeks that he's been
PPR volume
cooking,
for JSN, man.
Dude. Yeah, that's wild. Good stuff. My running back stud for week 1 of the playoffs. It's really close between this guy and Tony Pollard, but Rico Dowdle is my running back stud for week 1 of the fantasy playoffs. In games with more than 17 opportunities this season, Rico Dowdle is averaging 17.7 fantasy points, and over his past 3 games, he has been averaging 22 opportunities. He is the clear lead back. His snap share has gone from 49% to 61% to 70% to 77% last week over the last month. And Carolina is the number 1 matchup for fantasy running backs this season. I don't think they've tackled a running back since the preseason. Bryce should be able to keep this game close. He's been playing well lately, but I'm here to tell you this Rico Dowdle stuff lately, it wasn't just a couple random games. He can win you your matchup this week. I'm very certain of it. I'm expecting him to be a top 10 running back this week against a very weak Carolina Panthers run defense. I really, really like Rico Dowdle. And my running back dud, jumping on the train with you, Wes, it's DeAndre Swift. He's going up against the Minnesota Vikings. He has not eclipsed 10 fantasy points in 3 straight games. His backfield has become a legitimate timeshare. Roshan Johnson missed last week, but in his 2 games before that, he was averaging a 40% snap share over those past 2 games. Like I said, they play Minnesota. It's the 4th worst matchup for running backs this year. He scored less than 10 fantasy points against Minnesota already this season. And the Bears are letting Caleb get that rookie experience, letting him throw the ball, letting him sling it to these good weapons. So I don't expect DeAndre Swift to be that kind of a factor for this offense in this game against Minnesota. Don't love it at all. And so DeAndre Swift is my running back dud for the week 1 of the fantasy playoffs.
I got a feeling that this Cowboys-Panthers game is going to be a pretty good fantasy game. I think it's going to be a nice battle for both offenses.
Thielen, Dowdle, Chuba.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, and I actually thought maybe Bryce Young could be my stud for the quarterbacks, but I thought it's possible, more like I think it's going to do well, but I don't think you should start Bryce Young to win the playoff game. But I think Bryce Young is going to have a solid game, and
I think so too.
Thielen should dominate. But Thielen is not my stud for the wide receivers because that seems kind of obvious now. Congratulations to Adam Thielen. But here's my stud for wide receivers. A lot of questions in our Discord. People asking on social media, wanting to know from Fourth and Troll, is this guy worth still starting? And I say yes, start. Drake London. He is my stud for the first round of playoffs. A lot of concerns behind Kirk Cousins not getting into the end zone. I understand that. That is a real concern, but he has been fine. Drake London has been fine with the PPR volume. He's getting a crazy amount of targets, and that is really encouraging to me. Over the last 4 games, he's seen 13 targets, 7 targets, 16 targets, and 10 targets. This guy is feasting off of double-digit targets from Kirk Cousins. Darnell Mooney might have some good games. Ray McLeod might have a nice game or 2 here and there. But this offense is running through Drake London. Bijan will still do fine. But Drake London in a PPR format is still fantasy gold. And if he does get in the end zone, you're looking at probably close to 25 points. So Drake London is my stud. My dud wide receiver for the week breaks my heart to say this, but this is the truth. Malik Neighbors is a dud in the first round of playoffs with Tommy DeVito under center against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have been improving slightly on defense, but it's very clear there's one thing to do for the Ravens defense against the Giants. Shut down Malik Neighbors. The Ravens rush defense is phenomenal, so they're going to keep Tyrone Tracy Jr. in check. But Malik Neighbors is the only other way that the Ravens can possibly lose, and they're not going to let that happen to Tommy DeVito. I love Malik Neighbors. I'm so happy to see him have a good season as a rookie, but do not start him in the first round of playoffs.
Yeah, it's been really disappointing. It's painful that he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 3. That is,
I'm shocked, but also
yeah,
not.
that stinks. Yeah,
sad.
that's been tough. Yeah, that's been tough. Wrap things up with tight ends here. My tight end stud for week 1 of the fantasy playoffs. It's Pat Freiermuth. The Muth is Luth. I'm with you. We are back. He's had a back-to-back weeks as a top 5 tight end. He's been a top 8 tight end in 3 of his past 5 weeks. Back-to-back touchdown weeks. He's just been super reliable. He's only dropped 1 pass in his last 6 games. Philly is a very tough matchup. I don't get me wrong, it's a great defense, but with no George Pickens, I expect Pat Freiermuth to play a very big role in this game. I mentioned Mike Williams and Scotty Miller on Tuesday, and they might be fine, but it's just a very tough matchup. And so I expect if they're going to be passing the ball, which I expect they will have to be, that Pat Freiermuth will be getting targets. It will find the end zone. I have him as a top 10 tight end this week. I really like him in this week 1 of the fantasy playoffs opportunity here to be able to grow your team's capacity to win this week. Now, my dud. Sad to say, it's Cade Otton. Going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. Otton was great for the no Chris Godwin, no Mike Evans, non-RB1 Bucky Irving run that we had here. But the Cinderella run has ended, unfortunately. 3 of his last 4 games, he's been outside the top 15 tight ends, scoring 6 points, 4 points, and 8.5 points. Not to mention that the Chargers are the 5th worst matchup for tight ends this season. They have only allowed 1 receiving touchdown to tight ends this year. It was great while it lasted, but unfortunately the party is over, the run is over, and I believe Cade Otton will be a dud and could lose you your week in round 1 of the fantasy playoffs. So there it is. Listen, end of the show. I'm already feeling better than I was after that Thursday Night Football game. What a great time we've had here for the Troll Fantasy Playoff Week 1 studs and duds. Let us know in the comments who you're starting. If you have any start-sit questions, we're happy to answer them for you. Easiest way to do that is through our socials, so make sure you're following us on all of those. Those are all linked down below. We'll always be getting stuff out there for you guys and be able to communicate best with you guys that way, as well as in the comment section here. So like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you know that when we're dropping content. Again, if you want to sign James Cook jersey, that's available through our Patreon, patreon.com/4thandtrollfantasy. You're able to join our community Discord that way as well. And we will see you next time. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And Godspeed for the fantasy playoffs. And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy. 4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of FQ Media Group and Selby Artistic Workshop.